Cool. Okay, guys, good evening and welcome to Diary of a Scentsy Consultant. I am super excited about this evening. We're on like week 6 or 7 now. And if this is your first time watching, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it on replay, these interviews are totally inspired from Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. Not that I think he's ever going to listen to this, but totally inspired by that podcast because he is an amazing speaker. However, it was actually his weekly guest that he got on that I found so interesting and so inspiring. And I thought, do you know what? That is so applicable in our business. We've got so many amazing consultants across the business from loads of different backgrounds and loads of different, experiences, and they all absolutely smashed their business. So that was where this has grown from. And I'm super excited tonight to introduce you to the wonderful Lisa Allwood, our current Region Shining Star. Superstar director, one of my very best friends in the whole wide world. So I'm sure I probably know a lot of these answers already, but obviously I'm going to just pretend that I don't. So I'm not going to talk for too long, and I'm going to obviously hand over to Lisa. So firstly, Lisa, thank you very much for doing this evening.
It's okay, my lovely. It feels weird you interviewing me.
I'll put my professional hat on. So obviously I've already sent you the questions, which I know you've looked over briefly, but we're just going to take it right back to the beginning. So not talk about Scentsy for the moment, but tell us a little bit about yourself. So, your family life, your home life, tell us a little about Lisa Allwood, the person, not Lisa Allwood, the Scentsy consultant.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so hold on, let me just turn my phone on silent. First of all, I'm a squirrel, so I'm more than likely gonna get distracted for this call. And I'm also not in my office, I'm in the kitchen, so I can't guarantee that Lisa Allwood life is going to be live on here for everyone to see. So so obviously my name's Lisa. I'm 39. I can't even believe that I'm 39. I'm going to be 40 this year, which is quite depressing. And I am a mummy of 3 boys. Got 3 boys. Ellis is just coming up 15. Harry is 11, and Artie is 5. Also a dog mummy, and have 2 cats as well, which have been driving me a bit balmy down here because they've not been fed yet. Life for us is pretty much football, and football at the moment. That literally is what my life consists of. I don't go to all the training because I'm lucky enough that my hubby does all the football training. But I am an avid football mum in the stands of a weekend. That is literally my weekends. So if I'm not Scentsy, it's football or out with friends, out with the girls, very social person. That is me. So I don't know whether I've covered enough there, Laura.
No, absolutely perfect. Obviously, to give a little bit of context and a little bit about Lisa Allwood, the person. So when did you join Scentsy?
So when did you not ask me? That's the question, surely. I always love this question.
So yeah, I know, actually I didn't put that in. I didn't obviously have that in at the beginning. I am Lisa's sponsor. I introduced Lisa to this wonderful business. I'll let you obviously tell the story as to how that happened. But so when did you join Scentsy, Lisa Allwood?
Okay, so I joined Scentsy in December 2017. It was right at the end of December. I think it was the 29th or the 30th of December. I was definitely in that mindset of like, new year, new goals, let's go into the new year and do something new. But I also, so what happened was, I'd never heard of Scentsy, never smelt it. Actually, tell a lie. A friend had a scent pack, which I remember her putting on her Facebook. I remember asking her what it was, and I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, oh yeah, that's interesting. And that was that. Just literally asked her what it was. And then when Laura came along to one of my fitness classes that I was teaching, we didn't know each other. I think we connected a couple of times on social media. But
in the fitness world, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the fitness world. And Laura came along and did my MetaFit class. And I'm not going to lie, she came along and did my MetaFit class. And I thought, I literally want her body. I was like,
I knew you was gonna...
When she did squats, I was like, girl's got a good bum. I sound like really dodgy saying that, but honestly, she literally smashed the workout. And I was like, oh my God, this girl literally is into her fitness. And at the end, we got chatting. And that was that. And then I think you might have dropped Scentsy in the conversation, but it was very, very in passing comment. There was nothing about joining. There was no, did you want to buy the product? I don't think it didn't even click. And it was only once I got home from that class we added each other on as friends on Facebook. And I think that was where I noticed what Laura was doing. I sort of was watching. And then I literally messaged her and said, this thing you do called Scentsy, do you think I could do that? And she was like, yeah, I think you could. I was like, so what is it? And she said, oh, it's a bit like candles. As soon as she said the word candles, I was sold. I was like, that's it. I'm sold. I have Yankee candles everywhere in my house. And literally at the time, I think I had them like on every windowsill. And we wasn't in this house then, we was in our old house. And I had them absolutely everywhere. Big jar candles or candles from the local pound shop. Wherever I could put my hand on a candle, there was tea light burners. I had them all. I was a bit obsessed with candles at the time. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to give this a go. And I literally signed up a few days later and I stuck the kit on my credit card. So yeah. I
literally remember that day. It was the week between Christmas and New Year. Obviously, I'd done the class before Christmas. I'd sent you the stuff, and then you messaged me, and you were like, "Oh, I'm thinking about joining." And you were like, "We found the messages, didn't we, on your anniversary?" And it was literally like, "Could I do this? Yeah, it's really good. They're like candles. They just sell themselves. Okay, I'll have a little think about it." And I kid you not, about 20 minutes later, ping, Lisa was joined, and I was like, "Oh." She's joined.
I always say Laura's impulsive. I think I'm just as impulsive, honestly. It was a really impulsive thing. I mean, I had a lot going on at the time, but it was, it just felt like I needed that in my life. It was, the candles definitely sold it, but do you want me to talk about like what was going on at the time?
No, that's fine. Honestly, I said exactly the same with Lindsay McCallum last week. I know I've got some questions, but honestly, if it goes off on a tangent, like that's kind of the point of it. Like let it just flow and we'll pull it back to the questions if we need to. So okay. Yeah, the floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Oh, I love it. Okay, so at the time, I don't know, some people know about this, some people don't, some people have heard my story. And at the time, my dad had terminal cancer. And he'd been poorly for just over a year. And we knew he had had 2 strokes prior to me meeting Laura. And obviously at the time I was on maternity leave. So I was doing a little bit of extra this, that, and the other, just to bring a little bit of extra money in while I was off work. And literally, if people that knew my dad, he was a salesman. He was like, he could sell anything, and that was what his job. He was a salesman for his own company, and he bought in all of their sales. He literally could sell ice to the Eskimos, and we always joked about it. Whatever he sold, I mean, he sold ice. He sold ice machines. He sold dishwashers, electronics, tires, you name it. He sold it, and we always laughed about it. So when when I actually decided to join, he was actually in hospital, and we actually lost him 4 days later after I actually hit the join button. I did tell him about it, although at the time when he was in hospital, he was a bit incohesive. He was a bit in like where he had quite high infection. He didn't really know what was going on, to be honest. He was telling me that like the lady was bringing him dinner plates and all sorts in hospital, and that wasn't really happening. So I had no idea where it was going. I think part of me needed a distraction. Part of me heard the word candles, and if that hadn't have been going on in my life, I still think I would have joined. I don't think it would have even been an option, but I think I was even more drawn to what you were doing at that time because I needed something in my life that was just going to distract what was actually going on.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I've just got lost in that. Sorry. Okay, so we will come back to that. Obviously, we'll come back to where that moved on from that start in a moment. But previous to Scentsy, from like leaving college almost, so from you finished your schooling, what jobs have you done previous to Scentsy? So whether you were at college, between leaving and studying to becoming a Scentsy consultant, what jobs have you done previously?
Oh my God, I've done so many. I literally I've got a CV like yours. So a lot of my jobs have been like people jobs. I have worked in call centers. My actual main job whilst I was at college, I actually did my fitness instructor's qualification while I was at college. And I remember saying to my PE teacher, I'm never going to use this. I don't know why I have to do this. I really don't want to do it. And I was really like stroppy teenager about doing it at the time. And then I went and got a job at Virgin Gym, and I absolutely loved it. And that was really my gateway into fitness. So while I was doing my degree and stuff, that was what I actually did. But prior to that, I've worked in pubs, the Hungry Horse, where you're going next week, look. I worked there behind the bar. I have worked in a Chinese restaurant, a fish and chip shop. I actually, in terms of proper jobs, literally, I worked as a recruitment consultant for about 6 weeks prior to going off to university, a fitness instructor, and taught in like a lot of local gyms, and realistically teaching. And teaching was my whole, right up until lockdown. I taught for 14 years. I was a PE teacher. So that literally was my life, realistically. So I have done lots of jobs while I was like learning, as you say, leaving school to leaving college and all of that jazz. I did a lot of jobs. I was always working. I think I've worked from the age of like 13. I've always wanted to earn money, and I've always been driven by earning money. But I've also done a lot of jobs that are always around people. I've always liked jobs where I got to talk to people. 100%. It's always
definitely. And I do feel like whatever, people have got, obviously there's consultants with a lot of different backgrounds. I feel like whatever job you've done, there is something that you can take and you can apply that to your Scentsy business. Like whatever background you are from, there is something that is applicable that will transfer over into your business. I do know this as well, that when you went to see the recruitment consultant to help you get a job, they offered you a job.
That was basically how I got the job. I went to a deco at the time to do some temping work. I just wanted some temping work, and I didn't care what I was doing. I was like, just need like a job to tie me over. And he was like, we really think you'd be great at this. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want a full-time like proper job. I just want a part-time job. And he was like, well, why don't you give it a go? So I did. I worked there for I think it was about 8 weeks. But it was prior to going off to university. And I was at the time, I'd actually said to my mum, I'm not going to go to uni. I don't want to go to uni, and I don't want to be a PE teacher anymore. And I'm just going to do this job. I'm going to be really good at it. I was actually quite good I was a good recruitment consultant, but it got to literally, must have been about 2 weeks before I was supposed to be going to uni. And I think I just had this epiphany that I was like, what am I doing? Like, I want to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher my whole life. What am I doing? So I went to university with my tail between my legs. My mum was like, I knew she'd do it. She won. She was devastated. That wasn't going.
Okay, so obviously you've done various different jobs along your career path. Are you still, you were obviously a PE teacher when you joined Scentsy. Are you still doing that now, or is Scentsy your full-time career?
Not anymore, no. So I gave up teaching just before lockdown, actually, or maybe it was during. I can't remember dates, but I basically hit star director, and it wasn't long after we went on an incentive trip to Switzerland, and I had a conversation and sort of said, look, I don't think I can juggle this all anymore. It's just impossible to do the juggling. And it wasn't the juggling of the actual job. I could have done the job, but I wanted to be able to go on incentive trips. And when I asked for the time off, they basically said no. And for me, that was the game changer, because I was like, I want to be able to go on incentive trips. And that was a big thing for me. So no, I'm not teaching anymore. I retired. I took a leave of sabbatical for a year, just to see whether I could make this work. And I was lucky enough that I was in a profession that allowed me to do that. And they were really supportive. The school were like, look, take as long as you need, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years if you want. We just need to know what you want to take, and then you let us know. And it was during lockdown that I was due to go back, and I emailed them and said, look, I've made a decision. I'm not going to be coming back. So I think I haven't been teaching now. I think it's about 2 years, maybe longer, 3. I think it's been.
Funny, isn't it? All the last few years I'll just merge into one.
Merging into one, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so we touched on incentive trip there. That wasn't one of the questions, but you know what? We're gonna go off on a little tangent here, because this is, like I said, this is what we've done on previous weeks. So you talked about incentive trips and how important, obviously, they are. As a goal of yours in your business. Tell us about the incentive trips that you've earned to date, and any like special standout moments from them trips.
Okay, so I can proudly stand here and say, or sit here and say, should I say, that I went every incentive trip since joining. And I don't think that's something to brag about, because some people would look and go, oh, you should talk. But I think it's something that that is a proud moment for me, because it's always like ticking it off the box for me. It's always a goal. Always set it as a goal, and it's never about the level for me. It's just about being able to go. The first trip we went together, and that was to Mexico. And I remember earning that trip, and I was out running, and you rang me.
First of all, tell the story of when you didn't even realise that you know.
I didn't even know I'd earned it. I'd been with Scentsy for, I think it was about 6 months. Not long. I don't even know if I'd hit director or it was just before I hit director. I think I might have been a superstar consultant.
Yeah.
And you rang me and said, do you know you've just earned a trip, to an all expenses paid trip to Mexico? And I was like, no. I was like, what do you mean? I didn't even know it was a thing. I was just like, I sort of knew it was a thing, but I wasn't really tracking what I was doing. It just sort of happened because I was working the business, which has always stuck with me. The fact that I was just going for good PRV, sponsoring people and coaching them. And those things, as I wasn't even coaching then, I was just literally saying to them, you could do this. Like, this is what I did. This worked for me. And I think that obviously Mexico, which was absolutely incredible, going to the Moon Palace. And I ended up earning that for 2 people. I earned that for me and my sister-in-law I took with me, not Mike, because Mike at the time he was like, I can't have the time of work to go swanning about across the country. He didn't get it at all. He really didn't get it. So we went on that. That was pretty incredible. And then the following trip was to Switzerland, I was in the top 100 of the world, which I still can't even believe that. It's still like a pinch me moment. Which was a standout moment because of the budget that we got given spend on that trip. Like being told you've got $10,000, how do you want to spend it? And I was like, are you joking?
I remember ringing you one morning. I was like, where are you? And you were like, I'm at Nicola's, just come round because you need to come and help us work out how we're going to spend $10,000 on these.
In like 5 days. So we were looking at like upgrading flights, and we had the most magical room, and we paid for an expensive meal, and we did like Glacier 3000, like up the mountain. That was a massive like pinch me trip. I'm trying to think what came after that. We had obviously the COVID trips.
So
Disney plus for the family, and New York to Bermuda, and obviously they didn't happen. Absolutely gutted about that. But then Norway happened. The Norwegian cruise was just, and anyone that went on it like will tell you. I watched a program. There's a program called Below Deck. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a new one, and it's in Norway. Well, I spent the whole time going to Mike, oh, we went there. I mean, it's like the best feeling. But they were game changer, like absolute game changer moments. Mexico did change everything for me. I
feel like with incentive trips, and we talked about this previously last week as well, that incentive trips are probably, for anyone that's listening that hasn't maybe been on a trip, and I think it's really important that Lisa mentioned, like when you earn a trip, it's not about going like, oh, I've earned a free holiday. Scentsy are not silly. Like they put these trips in, they put the criteria to earn these trips in place. So at the end, if you do earn an incentive trip, not only have you earned an amazing trip, you've had huge growth in your business, like huge growth that's going to give your business longevity. And when you do go on them, that is literally like, you know, like you said, it's like the icing on the cake, isn't it? And I think there are places that you wouldn't necessarily book to go yourself. You know, you get to see. It is like when the alarm went off and they said like, oh, you know, come up to the top deck, and it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and they just turned the ship round, you know, it is literally looked like a green screen from a film. It was absolutely beautiful, wasn't it? So there is, if you're listening, guys, and you've never kind of felt, you know, I'm going to go all in and I'm going to run a trip, like absolutely go for it. Like there is nothing like a Scentsy incentive trip. I'm just looking at the faces that are on here. Actually, I've just seen Debbie. When I first earned my first incentive trip on the Mediterranean cruise, I was a star consultant or a superstar consultant, and I literally remember getting on that ship feeling like massively overwhelmed, and meeting Debbie on the first morning on the deck, and we were just sitting having a drink, and I remember looking around thinking, wow, this is real. This is a bit special. Like, this is amazing. Like, there is nothing like it. And you meet people that you then get to know and you build relationships with, and it just, you know, it is super special. So
I think as well, it's like you're being rewarded for working.
Yeah.
And I think if you can get your head around that whole, it's X amount of PRV a month. Okay, let's help my team to do exactly the same. I think we overthink it. I think even I overthink it sometimes. When that trip first comes out, you overthink it and think, God, how am I going to get them points? How am I going to do that? But actually, you work the business and, you know, get your PRV, sponsor teamies, help them to do the same. And actually, the reward is off the back of it. It's actually really simple. Scentsy are very clever. Very, very clever.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. The concept's incredible.
Okay, so coming back to Scentsy, so across obviously, well, 5 years as a consultant, what is your like biggest wow moment? Like that can be anything in terms of whether it's something, you know, that you've achieved or something that your team has achieved, and you know, you've been privy to that and you've been a part of that. But what is one of the biggest standout wow moments for you in your Scentsy journey?
I've probably got one or two. Actually, I've probably got more than that. There's been so many, and there have been so many, like incentive trips, standing, you know, on the balcony in your hotel, looking out and thinking, is this real? Like, I mean, we probably said that so many times. I remember we've had that conversation. Me and you have had that conversation where we're like, is this really real? Like, is this our job? You know, like, has this actually happened?
Standing in front of the castle in Disney World, going, is this like what we do for a living? Like,
I know. Yeah. Disney was big. Disney was a big moment for me. Obviously, I'm receiving the Shining Star Award last year was just, I still can't talk about it now. I talk about it now and still feel like proper emotional because I still can't believe that happens. Having something that's voted for by other consultants, like, literally means more than anything. That is a huge thing for me. But also, I think, do you know, I remember like my first director, like, and those moments are wow moments for me because, and I remember like other things, like people exactly like you did for me, ringing some of my directors that have earned incentive trips that didn't know they earned incentive trips, and hearing them be so emotional about it. Those, although the awards and the trips are wow moments, sometimes those bigger moments are more the impact that you've had on somebody else's. And listening to Lindsay say that last week, I was like, it's so true. Like, and I remember Nick Wilson, when she earned her first incentive trip, and I rang her and was like, oh, congratulations. And she was like, what for? And I remember having that and then I was like, you've done it, you've earned a trip. And she literally just burst into tears. And I was like, I know, and I knew how much that meant to her because she wanted to travel and she loves to get on a plane, and that is like a massive part of her Scentsy journey. So being able to share that with somebody else and being able to witness that, and them hitting director. I remember ringing Tan, Nick, you know, most of my frontline directors, ringing them late at night because they all happened at like 11, half 11, 12 o'clock at night on that last day of the month, and ringing them and just having like a FaceTime and then those crying moments. They are probably more the wow moments above all the awards, above everything else, because you know the impact that you've helped have on someone else's business. And that's huge for me. That's always been a big part of it, I think. And that comes from a little bit like my teaching profession. It's why I did what I did for such a long time, because when you see that all come into place, it's a big moment.
100%. It's totally just transition from, you know, what you did with your students to obviously, you know, now what you're doing with your team. So it is, you know, the transitions perfect there. Okay, so obviously across the last 5 years, and especially now, especially with the role that you have now, you obviously, you know, do a lot of trainings and train your team and train across the region. But are there any standout trainings that you've watched or anything you've listened to over the last 5 years that, you know, because obviously different, you know, we literally have a community like no other job have I done. I've certainly never known anyone share like, you know, like the Scentsy community does. But and obviously different things are going to resonate with different people. But are there any standout trainings, whether that's been at an event, whether that's been online, or where you've literally sat there and gone, wow, yeah, like a massive light bulb has just turned on for me?
There's one that will always stick with me, and I think I've watched it 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 times. And whenever I need a moment to bring me back, I go and watch that particular training. And that's Jennifer Anderson's how she earned her first $10,000 paycheck. And I told her this when we went to Disney. We stood and had a conversation, and I said to her that training changed my business, and purely because, like, I know you ask about whys, but as time, there have been times in my business where for me to be able to give up work, I was like, I need to earn, I don't know, $3,000 a month. I needed an income of $3,000 a month. And that was, for me to be able to give up work, that was like a deciding factor for my husband. And that was like an agreement that we'd had, and it needed to be consistent. And when I watched that training, I can't remember what title I was the first time I watched it. It might have been before Mexico. It was, but I remember watching the Aha Moments group.
I know.
I can remember having it on my iPad, on my laptop at the time, in my kitchen, and I was doing my housework, and I had my little kitchen at the time. And I remember watching it and just being like, someone can earn $10,000 doing this. I was like, doing the maths. I was like, it's like $8,000. I was like, okay, now you've got me. Like, she literally had my attention the whole way through.
In a car, wasn't she?
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think I hung off every single word. And I must admit, those training days, those Aha Moment training days where you're watching training back to back, I've always loved a bit of training. But those days, literally, that started that day off for me. And I think I couldn't stop watching those trainings, like, after that particular one. So Laura, it's the Jennifer Anderson $10,000 paycheck. You'll be able to find it on her YouTube.
I was just going to say, if you put it on YouTube, I remember sitting in my kitchen watching it, and Dan always says to me, like, he always says, you should have been born in America. He's like, you should be American. You're like, whoop, whoop, whoop. But I literally remember going, oh my God, yeah. And he was like, it's so powerful, because she's just sitting in her car with her coffee, just being totally honest, totally real, totally transparent. I will put the income disclosure on this when I share it, because we talked about money. But yeah, really, really powerful, isn't it?
I think it was really powerful, because I started to believe. I was like, oh my God, hold on a minute. I can believe that I can do that. And I don't openly mind saying that. The month that we both had the $10,000 paycheck, we celebrated in my garden. Do you remember, Laura?
I do remember going to
a bottle of champagne.
Buying a bottle of champagne.
And we both said, oh my God, that training is so true. Like, and everything that Jennifer spoke about during that training. Not many people talk about money in this business and how much you could potentially earn. I don't think a lot of people talk about it, and I don't think it's talked about enough, because there are people that are driven by that. Yeah. And I was one of those people for a really, really long time. And I mean, my why's definitely changed now a little, like, as things have evolved in my business. Yeah. But for a really long time, like I said, I've worked since I was 13. I was like, whenever I got an opportunity to earn money, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to earn more money. Like, I knew it made my world go round. So when I watched that training, my ears went up. So when I had that opportunity to say to her, your training changed my business, it really did. It really did.
And I think, and I know, like, and I'm really trying not to go back to, we've talked about this before, because we've talked about everything. I know. But it is important, I think, because I think it's a British thing to not talk about money. And ultimately, we've talked about this other times, like, money doesn't bring you happiness, but it brings you choices and freedom. It brings you opportunity, and it brings, so it's actually fully okay to talk about it. Francesca's just very kindly shared in the chat, what to search, and it will come up, and we can obviously share it. It's not a problem, but it's in the Aha Moments group, and it's been shared many, many times. So I thought you might say that one. I didn't obviously know what you're going to say, but I thought you might say that one.
It's a few, but I mean, that one is like literally the standout one. If there was any training that I was going to go and watch, and I've watched it over and over again.
Yeah, it is. It is really powerful. Okay, we are in a network marketing business, and I think a lot of people, if they're joined in the last couple of years, and we don't want to talk about that word, in lockdown, it was really easy just to put a picture on Facebook and everybody bought your product. However, we need to build the skills that we need before that. So we're in a network marketing business. Lots of people have got really good at the marketing bit, but not at the networking. So what would be your biggest tip you would give to somebody when it comes to networking, whether that's in real life, face to face, on Messenger, in networking in general?
Okay, so I've probably got a few. I could talk about this all day long, you know that. I love talking to people, but I think it really depends on whether you're somebody that's getting out of the house, or whether you're more of a social media type business, and it depends how you work your business. So if you're out of the house, my biggest tip is just to talk to people. and be brave and get out there and talk to as many people as you can. And I honestly think that's partly why I've been so successful, because I literally went back and looked at all the different circles. I wrote it down. I remember doing that right at the very beginning, and I still do it now. Sometimes I still will go back and look at, my own network of people and be like, right, okay, so where has that network evolved? I talk to anybody that will listen. Like I had my hair done today in the hairdressers, and there was a new girl that was washing my hair, and she was asking questions, and I was like, oh, so how long have you been doing this? And naturally it evolved into a conversation about like, oh, so what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a Scentsy consultant. And I think it's one of those things, like not being afraid to tell people this is what I do, not being afraid to give out samples wherever you go, not being afraid to ask everybody, do you want to have a party? Have you thought about joining? Have you, do you want a catalogue? So definitely like speaking to people, not forgetting to speak to people. And I think a lot of people find it, I don't know why they find it so hard to just have the conversation. And that is like,
I think like you say, if you are somebody that is out and about, whether you got, if you go into a place to work, or if we are all talking to people every day. It's just people forget to talk about Scentsy. They'll have whole conversations about other things, and it's actually, be proud of. And I think it's that whole stigma about, I don't want to be spammy, I don't want to be, but at the end of the day, if you're very politely asking somebody what they do for a living, and then they ask you, be proud of it and talk about it. So I agree. Sorry, I interjected there.
That's all right. In terms of online, I think it's about having a good referral system. If you give good customer service, people will refer you naturally. And that is definitely something I've learned the hard way. Like some people might look at from the outside, you'll be looking in thinking, oh, she's got a perfect business and all that jazz. There's no such thing. Like there is no such thing. No one has got a perfect business. And that is like a real eye opener. Believe that. But in terms of like your customer service, giving really good customer service, as I say, I've learned the hard way where there have been people where I've looked back and I think I could have given them so much better service and they went elsewhere. So having golden customer service, massive thing. Have a referral system. If you don't have one, ask people what they're doing for referrals. It's such a big thing out there now, isn't it? Like every email I get is refer a friend, have an affiliate code, have a 10% discount if you refer a friend. Find something that works for your business and use it. Do you want to refer? Every time someone refers to me, they get a free bar of wax. I keep it really simple. I've tried, if you refer someone and they spend this amount of money, you will get X, Y, Z. Honestly, the more complicated you make it, the less likely you're gonna, say to people. Now it's part of my closing statement when somebody orders from me is, do you have any friends or family that might want to add to your order? Or do you know anybody that would like a free sample pack? Or, those type of things. Have you got anybody you want to refer to me? Because then I can send you a free bar of wax, a mystery free bar of wax. And it's about finding something that works for you. So if you're a very online based person, have a referral system and make sure you're putting it as part of your closing. I want to say close, it's not closing argument, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Close of sale. And if, for example, you're somebody that is getting out and seeing people, talk to people. Just talk to everybody. Anyone that will listen.
If your mouth is closed, so is your business. I think that's the thing. Or if your mouth's open, so is your business. And actually, another little line off this before we move on to the next kind of topic on my list is that you talked there about, I've tried different things. I've tried that. I've tried saying, you can spend this much and get this much. I know you won't mind me saying this about tell us about how you've tried loads of different systems and actually you need to find what works for you.
Oh my God, yeah. Pivoting is like literally my best friend.
Yeah.
I wrote a post about it today actually for my team. We do need to pivot in this business, but yes, Laura's right. I have tried so many systems. I have followed many leaders that have massively inspired me to try lots of systems. Then I went for a phase where I was like, I just don't have any systems. I'm not a system person. This just doesn't work for me. And then I've gradually come to realize, actually, I do have lots of systems. I have lots of things that are more habits, I like to call them, rather than systems. Things that I do repetitively in my business, like my VIP monthly boxes, for example. That is something that I do every month without fail, however different it might look each month. That is just something that I do every single month in my business. That is a system. So yeah, Laura's right. I've tried systems. I've tried teaching other people's systems, and I'm talking like follow-up systems, and I'm trying to think what other things I've done, like recruitment.
I mean, you are so right, but in terms of absolutely being authentic to you and not thinking if you see somebody else do something and think, oh my God, I've got to do that just like that person, because actually that might not work for you. So
a lot of them didn't work for me. That's the difference.
That's what I mean. You are like the queen of, do you know what, I'm going to give this like 100% and then actually go, yeah, that didn't work for me, I'm going to do it this way instead, and then I'm going to try this. What I mean is you always try things. You're not scared to try things. I
have tried so many things. Like Laura will tell you the amount of times I've rang her and gone, right, just watch this training, this is what we're going to do, and she's like,
oh, you are turning to my door at 9:30 on a Sunday night with a folder that you printed for me, and you've gone, right, I've made us this folder and we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this.
I still use mine.
I do use it occasionally.
I knew you didn't.
I do. It's under here, look. It's under there.
I don't even know where it is.
I do, look. I'm going to show you.
So I made this folder. I actually followed it. It was, and it had, it's got in it like it had, and I do use mine. I do use it. I do use it.
What I mean is, it's okay to try different things, and then actually you need to be authentic. You know, follow the Scentsy core values and be authentic and do what works for you. Don't try and ever be somebody else, because there's only one of you. Okay. Not you, like in general. Okay, so what was your, obviously you've talked a little bit about this is obviously kind of coming full circle a little bit now. You've talked a bit about why you joined and what you had going in your life at the time, but what was it that made you go, what was your why when you joined? What was it that made you go, do you know what, actually, yeah, I'm gonna click this join button and I'm gonna give this a go? And why Scentsy? Because I know that you'd looked at some other ones as well.
I did actually join another network marketing company about 2 months before, and it was something to do, it was all to do with skincare, and I actually knew that I could probably join a network marketing company and make some sort of success of it, because I was quite willing to work, and that's something that I've always been open about. I'm a hard worker, so if someone says this is how you can earn this amount of money, I'll be like, right, off I go, and I will try and make it happen. But the particular company just didn't have the right morals for me. Let's just say it wasn't it just didn't feel right. So it lasted for 24 hours and then I quit, and I said to Mike, I'm not doing that. I was like, it just didn't feel right. So basically I was on maternity leave, and obviously I did need a distraction, take that out of the equation. I was on maternity leave, and I had a massive change in lifestyle because of what was going on with my dad, and I had a massive change in perspective. And I sort of decided I've given a lot of time to this job, a lot of hours. Mike and I used to argue about all the marking that I did, all the extra hours that I was working, and I never got paid a penny extra. And it took me an hour to drive there, an hour to drive home. And I was like, do you know what? This is baby number 3. I just want to enjoy baby number 3. I want to actually watch him grow up. I don't want to pay somebody crazy childcare. And my childcare, I think when I went back to work, was £1,100 a month, because I had 2 of them actually in childcare at the time, and it was more than I was going to earn. So I sort of just decided I need to drop down to 2 days a week. I need to drop all my responsibility, because I was head of key stage 4 and 5. I think I was 4 and 5 PE, and I just was like, I need to find something that's going to pay me. I don't know. I think I'd worked out that if I could find something that paid me £500 a month, I could probably go down to 2 days a week, and we could make it work. And so I was like, right, let's just give this a go. Let's just give it a go. Who knows? If not, I'll teach more fitness classes. And that literally was.
What's the worst that can happen? So that was your why when you joined. What is your why now? Like, what is it that, I know there's going to be multiple things, but like, what is it that makes you get up every day and consistently work your business?
So it's evolved as time's gone on. A lot of people talk about why, and for a long time I actually didn't know what my why was. I remember having some coaching with someone once, and he asked me what my why was, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, and I don't know. And we talk about it a lot in our business, and I just didn't know. And for a long time it was probably just money. I literally needed to earn this amount of money, and then I needed to earn, it was like, earn £1,000 a month. Right, okay, hit that goal. Right, £3,000 a month and I can leave work. And that literally was my why for a really long time, until I left work, until probably I hit superstar director. And then when I hit superstar director, it hit me a little bit when people say, you hear it in all the trainings, but I don't think you believe it until you hit that goal. And it's like you hit the end goal. And it's a bit like, hold on a minute, what now? Like I've hit all the promotions, you know, like what now? And I did have that moment, and I'm not going to lie, like I did have that moment. And probably now, what makes me get out of bed every day? It's literally helping my team. I have realized that Scentsy aligned with my teaching career massively, and it allowed me to teach in a way I could actually teach people that wanted to be taught. That has been a game changer, because let's be honest, teenagers didn't all want to do PA. They didn't want to do PA. They didn't all want to be in the classroom 24/7. Even though I loved my job, Sentsy's allowed me to do that. It's allowed me to teach. And it's probably why when people say to me a lot, you do a lot of training, you know, some people think maybe I train too much. I don't know. But it's because it's built in me, and it's that is my happy place, is helping others and watching that light bulb go on, watching somebody, when I get those messages, when someone messages me, and I've had that message this week from a team member, not a frontline, and they say, I'm actually at my highest point of PRV in the month because of like the work that we've been doing together, the accountability or whatnot. That for me, that gives me like fulfillment like no other. And that is what makes me get up every single day. It's like, right, I need to help others be able to do what I've done. I want somebody else to be able to say to me, oh, I've been able to earn £1,000 a month because of Scentsy, or I've been able to give up my job because of Scentsy, or, you know, because of the work that we've done together, I can now put food on my table every single, you know, like they are those moments really for me.
Like the moment that you went up to Jennifer Anderson in America and said, your training changed my business, you're now doing that for other people.
Yeah, that happens a lot at SFR, and I must admit it was a really humbling experience, like people coming up and telling you like that you've actually, and people that you don't know, like it still gives me goosebumps now. Like I spent the whole of SFR last year crying, and that was well before any award. I was just crying because every time someone come up to me and told me something nice, I was like, oh God. Because like genuinely that is literally what makes me get out of bed every day, and I will keep doing that until there's no one left to help. So
but that is literally, that just embodies Scentsy, doesn't it? Like arrows out, give more than you take, and it does, and it comes back to repay you in ways that you can never imagine. And when you started, you just never ever envisaged that, you know. It's just that is just what it has grown into. So yeah,
never imagined that it would be this. No, definitely not from that little old fitness class in that park. You know, like never.
And I think what's really how can I put this? What's really important for anyone that's listening now that might be new or might be, you know, not been in for long, is that I certainly didn't train Lisa, and how can I put this? Like, obviously I did, and I gave her the support, and I showed her where stuff was on the workstation. I'm not saying I just signed her up and went, see you later, bye, I'm not going to ever help you or speak to you ever again. I don't mean that. But what I mean is I certainly had no leadership experience when I joined. So we have like grown together. So what I mean is, if you are listening to this and you think, oh, I don't want to sponsor because I don't know how to train somebody, you can learn together, and it's really, really special. Like it is really, really special. So don't, you know what I mean by that? Like,
it's
don't
brought
like
us together, really, didn't it, Laura? Really, and like you think about it, what actually probably brought us together so much as friends? Well, obviously we just clicked, but because we were learning together, and I would get as excited as you would get as excited I would get. We cheerleaded each other on the whole way, and we just shared what was working. Like you shared there was stuff you were doing, and I'd be like, right, I need to go and do that, and then vice versa. And I was ringing her, telling her, do this system. She's going, what?
What do you mean? I can't do that. I can't do that.
You did train me. You did train me.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like if anyone's listening to this and thinking, oh, you know, I can't sponsor because I don't have all the systems in place to train somebody. I certainly didn't have that. And, you know, you can learn together when you sponsor somebody, and you know, you build that relationship, you can learn together along the way. So, okay, amazing. So we've talked obviously about Shining Star, which was absolutely wonderful. And I was so grateful to obviously be a part of that, and vice versa. My door and like scared the life out of me in lockdown. But what is one of your proudest moments, whether that's for your own business or as a leader, like one of your proudest moments in the last 5 years?
Probably that one, standing on stage receiving that award, was probably the biggest moment, I would probably say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know what? It's a hard one, because there's been, as I say, there's been so many. Honestly, even just sitting here with the team that we've got, like I often like look at myself. I reflect a little bit and think, you did that. Like, be proud of like the whole thing, like the whole, like what you've built. That is a proud moment. I think the whole thing, like the whole. Just the
whole journey, the whole
journey, like, and I know it's not even like really, I haven't scratched the surface. Like, I'm just getting going.
Just warming up, just
warming up.
Okay, so this is a topic that obviously I am super passionate about, and I know you are too. So personal development, this is something that obviously some people, you know, do, some people don't, but it's definitely something that I feel that is super important in your business, because if you grow the person, then you are going to grow your business, and it's going to ripple out into every other roll out into every other aspect of your life. Is there one particular standout personal development, whether that's a book, whether that's an audio book, whether that's a podcast, that you've listened to or read in the last 5 years that's literally like, been a really pivotal moment in your business?
Okay, well, I've probably got 3. Okay. Which I know, and I will just say, to everyone that's on here, there might be some people that are like, oh, here we go, talking about personal development. I was that person, right, for a really long time. I was that person until I went to Mexico and I read my first personal development book, I suppose, which was Rachel Hollis, Girl Wash Your Face, which actually is the reason that I got a tattoo when I come back from that holiday. Like, that book, I actually would have leaned over to Laura and went, I'm going to give up Diet Coke. Obviously didn't.
But I remember you laying on that sun lounger and she was like this, right? She was reading it and she'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah. And prior to Mexico, I had not read any like business development books or anything. I loved Girl Wash Your Face. I loved the way Rachel Hollis wrote. And that was like the start of my professional development journey in terms of actually reading books. I love to read. I just don't get a huge amount of time for it. Since then, though, there's probably been a couple. When I went to Cyprus last year, I actually read Beach Money, and I read it cover to cover in about 4 days, and that was a game changer for me. It's a network marketing business book. It's more, I'd probably say, more than personal development. I'm a more business development type reading book, as opposed to like actual just for me. But Beach Money was a game changer for me. That was like massive, and I love the fact that it was thin, so I finished it really, really quickly. And then I also, the other book, which just every part of it I absolutely loved, is Girl Code, and I could read that book now cover to cover again. So Beach Money, Girl Code, and Girl Wash Your Face were all quite pinnacle books for me. Girl Code, I think, was more, I think there were some challenging times going on at the time, and I remember I had it on audio, and I remember doing my house and like housework, and I'm going around doing the hoovering, and I'm stopping like going, oh my God, yes, like, and having those real like pinnacle moments of like, yes, this is everything I needed to hear right now. It was really empowering for women. It's a really like empowering for women book, and
Girl Code's really, I know you listen to it on audio, but Girl Code's really thin as well, isn't it? Like, it's just
I think I've read it. Yeah, I've read half, listened to half on audio. It literally was, I didn't want to put it down, so wherever I was going. But I will say, like, there's always something playing for me. If it's not a book or an audio book, I've just finished Freakishly Effective something of leadership. I can't remember the full title of the book. But if you search Freakishly Effective Leadership, there's 2 of them. There's one for leadership, on social media. They're both really short reads, really good books. I love a short read because I'm a bit of a squirrel, and when I've got the boys, and I don't always get a huge amount of time to read, so audio works brilliant for me. But if I'm not listening to either of those, I'm an avid find YouTube videos, whether that might be a bit of Mel Robbins, a Scentsy consultant, something that Laura's done, you know, someone, and I've watched so many different people. And it doesn't always have to be Scentsy. Like, I absolutely love Jasmine Star, who is a business woman on Instagram, and her YouTube and is fantastic. And if you can do one of her free masterclasses, I didn't pay anything, so I didn't want to pay any money, but her free masterclasses on selling is, honestly, it's gold. I mean, it's all about stories and how stories sell and how to structure social media posts. It's incredible.
And I think what's really super important there is saying, like, there is literally so much content out there for everybody, and what resonates with one person isn't necessarily going to resonate with somebody else. But there is literally so much free content out there. Like, we're obviously talking about books that you can go buy, and if you want to, that's amazing. But honestly, YouTube, you can find anything about anything on YouTube for free.
Yeah, I'm always looking. And Instagram as well, if you follow it, I follow like a few like either business women or like even other network marketers that are doing really well in their business. I sometimes watch what they're doing, and I will tune into their trainings, because they might be training on, yes, their company, and which is slightly different, but actually the way they do things might give a completely. So I'm literally watching anything I can get my hands on to listen to. And if people recommend stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch that.
Yeah.
There's always something.
It was, I don't know
Jasmine
if it just says iPhone, yeah, but Jasmine Star.
Jasmine Star, I'll put it in the chat so you can.
Okay, cool. Okay, so obviously we've talked about a lot tonight, but what, aside from income, so take money out of it, and this again could be I'm sure could be a whole nother hour in itself, but what, aside from income, has Scentsy done for your life?
So many things. Do you know what? It's developed my confidence. And I know I've always been a really, really, really confident person, but it's developed my confidence in being at home. You know, I can't honestly, I could list so many things, but I've become a different person. It's not so much confidence. Before I sold Scentsy, I wasn't a glass half full person all of the time. I think I spent a lot of time complaining. I spent a lot of time moaning about people that I worked with. I was obviously very unhappy in my job. But then that filtered into my home life and so many other things. Honestly, it filtered into like my friendships and all sorts. And some of like the biggest things for me have been when friends have said, you've changed. And not just from a point of view that you only talk about Scentsy and you only want to talk about Scentsy because they know that that's a big part of my life. But actually what it's done is the people that I surround myself with, like I'm a massive believer in who you surround yourself with is like, honestly, it's not just even the 5. I believe in all the people that you surround yourself with. And as soon as now there is like that glimmer of negativity or, you know, people talking about other people, I literally just remove myself from those situations. Pre-Scentsy, I was not that person. And I'm really honest with people to say that. Pre-Scentsy, I was too much of a gossip, and I got involved in things that I probably shouldn't have got involved in. And I could write a book on it. Honestly, I really could write a book on it. I don't think I was a particularly nice person, not so much pre-Scentsy, but maybe like even 5 or 6 years prior to that. And I know some of that comes with age, but I feel like it's changed me as a person massively. Don't get me wrong, I can still slip back into not like mean girl or anything like that, but I can slip back into those moany negative vibes sometimes, and people might not see that because, you know, people believe that you know, I'm just someone that just wants to talk positivity all the time, but some of that is purely because I have been that person, and I have evolved from that person. And I know there's some people say, oh, it never changes its spots, but that is a massive thing that Scentsy's done for me in terms of me personally. In terms of my family, it's allowed us to travel. It's allowed me to watch my kids grow up. It's given me different values for my kids at home as well. Like, I think, like, I'm not a religious person, but I definitely embody, you know, talking about authenticity with the kids, you know, about being genuine to people and, you know, giving more than you take, and all of those, the core values. I think I embody more of those at home. now than I ever did
Make good
before.
choices, like I said to my son as I left this morning when you were.
Yeah, make good choices. Make good choices.
But you know, you're right, and it literally, I think it's not till somebody, you know, we talk all the time, but it's not till somebody maybe says that to you and you do reflect on it, that actually when you're living it and you're obviously running your business every day and you're just in it, but it's not actually till you look back that you think actually it's not just an income, like it's had such a ripple effect on so many areas of your life.
Massively. I mean, don't get me wrong, like the income makes things, you know, now we can have lovely family holidays, and we've done a big extension on our house, all things that I couldn't have done if it wasn't, I definitely couldn't have done that on my teaching wage that I was earning at the time, like 100%. Sorry, washing machine, let me just shut this door. Didn't think about that when I set that off before we can come on, but you know, those sort of things, you know, but you know, being able to do the school run is a big thing for me, because and not having to have someone else look after my kids, even though Artie asks to go to childcare, he wants to go to Acorn Club after school. I'm like, no, I'm like, do you know how hard mummy's worked to make sure that I can pick you up from school? He doesn't appreciate it at all. But tonight, like, he came home, he was playing football in the garden. I couldn't have done them things when I was at work, so I think that's been a game changer for me. You know, even if I hadn't been able to give up work, just being able to go down to 2 days a week, like that was a big change for me. It was.
Amazing. Okay, so do you have I've written funny or inspiring, but let's go with funny. Do you have a funny story from, you know, your journey as a sense consultant, whether you've been live and something funny's happened, or you know, you've been on a trip, or I don't know, there's a few I could think of, but I'm not going to plant any seeds, but a funny story been out.
Probably a couple. So probably in terms of funny, so I will never forget when people say I don't go live because things happen. I've told this story a few times, people have probably heard it, but when people say I don't like to go live because you never know what's going to happen in my house. No, this happened. So Artie was probably about 8 months. He might have been about a year. No, he was about a year. And he was in his high chair and I was live and I was just doing the whole, just chatting to all my customers. I think it was actually in my team group. It wasn't actually in my customers. It was in my team group. And I took Artie out of his high chair and he was playing, and we had a dog at the time, a big dog, not the dog I've got now. We had like a cane corso, and if anyone knows how big they are, he was like 60 or 70 odd kilos or something ridiculous. Massive dog, and he's out in our garden. And all of a sudden I looked down and Artie was taking all my bank cards out of my purse, my Boots card, my bank cards, and he's posting them through the cat flap. And I'm live and I'm like, I've just got to stop for a minute. And I remember telling everybody. And I went out and the dog had literally chewed all of my cards up one by one. Like my Boots card was like in half, and my bank card had big teeth prints in it. I had to get all new cards, everything. At the time, I remember thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I was live when that happened. But whether it's team or customers, I can't remember which group it was in, I'm reminded of it all the time. And it was quite funny. Other funny stories are things like, I think it might have been my customer group, because I get reminded of it quite a lot. Funny things as well, like went on. I'll never forget in Amsterdam, and me and Nick got lost everywhere we went. Like, I mean, everywhere we went, we got lost when we went to Amsterdam for Scentsy family reunion. I mean, we were late to every single, I think, thing that went on. She'll make Mr. Stage, jump on stage. I'm trying to think of other funny things that have happened. They've probably been quite, that's probably like the biggest one.
We were on the flight on the way back from Belfast. We were on the flight on the way back from Belfast, and like a massive fight broke out, and all the police came, and I was like,
that wasn't funny, that was scary. I'm trying to think other funny things that have gone on though. Yeah, my memory's terrible. I've got bad memory.
There'll be loads of things that'll come back to you afterwards. Okay, so we will wrap this up because we have been on an hour, guys, and like we said, I just so appreciate your time, Lise, but obviously we also don't want to keep everybody too long. So if somebody was starting their Scentsy journey today, they've just signed up, they haven't listened to any of you know what we've just talked about, what would be your best piece of advice to somebody who was starting their business today?
I didn't prep this one. So I actually didn't prep any of the questions.
I know.
Just saying that. I didn't know what you was going to ask me. I hadn't even read them. So what would be my biggest? Do you know what? There's so many. But I think more than anything is not listen to anybody else. Just go with your gut and go with it. Literally get yourself set up, you know, listen to your sponsor. And if you don't have a sponsor, that doesn't matter. Like if somebody signs you up and they don't do anything, that doesn't matter, because I hear that all the time. I haven't got a good sponsor, or could I change sponsor, or I haven't done very well in this business. It's not about your sponsor, it's about you. My biggest tip is probably to just get yourself set up. Don't listen to anybody else. Don't listen to any negative voices or, you know, people that tell you can't. I had a lot of non-believers in my life when I started Scentsy. My mum being one of them. She was like, don't know why you're bothering, don't know why you're doing that. You've got a good career. And she didn't believe in my business really for a long time, until like probably I hit superstar director. I'm not gonna lie, it was it, and we had that whole thing of you going back to work. So I'd probably say you can't listen to anybody else. You've just got to go with like what you think, your gut feelings, how, you know, and shut the voices out, get your blinkers on. Probably my top tip for everybody, and this is wherever you are in your business, is just be prepared to work hard. None of what I think I've done in the last 5 years has been easy, and none of it has, despite how maybe you can make it look on social media, on YouTube, in a team group, even in my customer group to a degree. People might look from the outside and think, that's easy. Like, she makes that look easy. She's had that easy. She knows a lot of people. She got in at the right time. It's easy. Don't let those thoughts ever consume you, because whatever you might think on the outside, I can tell you, if you're prepared to work hard and you're prepared to, I've done the late nights. I'm not going to sit here and say you can work this business 15 minutes a day. I personally, if I worked 15 minutes a day, I wouldn't be sitting where I am right now. Like, I've worked the long hours. I have got my head down. I've set myself goals. I've always been goal driven, and I've just literally gone for it and not listened to what anyone else thinks or says, or what anyone else thinks or says about you, because you can hear a lot of things. Same, my internet's unstable, so I don't know whether you're hearing me all right.
It's wobbling a bit, but
you know, you might hear things about you. So just get your blinkers on and just work hard, and don't listen to what anyone else has said about you, and do your personal development and take action. Honestly, there's so many tips there. Sorry. Can't stop.
There is so many, but you've totally summed it up. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to work hard, you've got to take the action, and you've got to do it consistently. You can't just do it once and then it doesn't happen.
I think action consistently is like, there's not been a day where I haven't got up. There are days when I don't, like, I haven't really worked today. Yeah, it's all been, everything's been from my phone. But most days I will get up and do something for my business every single day. And you know, even if that's just posting on my customer group, every day I get up and I work, despite whatever's going on in my life. It doesn't matter how rubbish I feel. You know, I'm not well right now, whether you can hear that or not. I've been really poorly, but that isn't going to stop me from working my business. I'm never going to be an excuse maker, and I never will be someone that says I can't do it because of this, I can't do it because of that, I can't do it because of that. Actually, I'm the person that's always like, they tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go big so that I can stand in and go, see that? Proved you wrong. You know.
Definitely. I love that. No, but that's amazing. And at the end of the day, it's that thing, isn't it? You know, other people's opinions don't pay your bills. So, you know, exactly. Absolutely.
Bills aren't cheap right now, are they? So, you know, we've got to work hard, right?
Exactly. Lace, honestly, this has been amazing. And like I said, I was really trying not to fall into the trap of, you know, we were just having a chat. We do that a lot, but it has been brilliant. There's been a lot of value shared this evening. So whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this back on replay, I'm sure everybody is like super thankful for your time. I certainly know that I am. So thank you so much for this evening. I know you've not been feeling very well today, so honestly, it's like massively appreciated. I will stop this here. I will share this for anybody that's watching it back. And thank you very much, guys. And thank you, Lace.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you later.